Hello YouTube, TFR Wilderness here, bringing to you my TFNation 2018 Reflections video. This is the video whereby I go over my convention experience with you, what I did, what my feelings were on the convention, and all that stuff. I've already done my haul video, which I posted up yesterday. It's doing quite well. It's got over 100 views in 24 hours. I'm quite happy about that. So thank you very much for anybody who's viewed my video. And yeah, so let's get on to my reflections video. Now I wanted to do this fairly early doors. It's now the Tuesday after the event. I'm off this week. I wanted to get it done while it's still reasonably fresh in my mind. So that is the idea behind it. And so let's get on with stuff. So now one thing I did this year, because my memory is not that good. It's got like selective recall on certain memories, and I forget stuff quite easily. So I was using my phone as a little how-to guide. As I was going through the weekend, I was writing notes down on what I did and rough time indexes as to when I did it. So kind of like in chronological order. So I had my TFNation information, booking information, and then at the bottom I got like the notes starting on Friday the 17th of August. So yeah, with that I can use it for notes to let me know what I did, so I can hopefully reel off my convention experience to you fairly quickly this time round, and so tell you what I did, what I got up to. So obviously now I wanted to, this year I was off the week before the convention, and on the Friday morning I got all my stuff ready, loaded it up in the car, and I came across a bit earlier than what I usually do. The reason being is that there was that panel at 11:30, the what was it called, the Double Dare panel, I think it was called, where they screened some episodes of some badly dubbed episodes of Master Force. So I wanted to get into that. So I came across, and I arrived there, what was it, about 10 to 11, something like that. I got to the convention, and I sort of wandered around a bit, didn't really see many people. So then I decided to go and get signed in. So I went down to the check-in desk. There was a big queue of people trying to get signed in. There was two queues. There was a queue for the reception to get your passes, and then there was a separate queue behind it for people collecting their pre-ordered merch. And these queues were moving really slowly because it was really busy at that time. And I was looking at my watch, because I wanted to get into the panel at 11:30. So I was in my queue, and eventually I got to the front, and yeah, got my wristband. So obviously you say, you show the I have a slip of paper with the barcode on. They scan it, or you scan it on your phone, which is what I did. And they got my wristband. Then you got the Stan Bush wristband as well. Obviously I managed to get mine off without breaking it in the concert on the Saturday night, so that's why it's not on my wrist anymore. So yeah, there's that. You also got program. Again, I haven't really sat down and read this because it's still fairly close after the event, but I will take my time reading it later on. But yeah, it looks really good. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there, and they gave you this, if you booked in to do the Stan Bush concert, they gave you this commemorative ticket, but they made it clear that this is not a ticket to get you into the concert. It's the armband that gets you into the concert. So don't remove this until you've had the concert. So I got those. By this time it was about 20 past 11, so I had to rush right back down the other end of the site to get into the the Master Force panel, and I sat in and watched that, and never seen Master Force. Obviously, it was a Japanese only show that received a very sort of dodgy dub back in the day, and they screened a couple of episodes of it, and yeah, poorly dubbed. And obviously it was the lip sync that was out, and that was largely due to the videos I think they were using, because we know sometimes when you record a video, the audio goes out of sync with the visuals. But it was funny. It was quite amusing to sit in that. So when I came out of that, then I went back to get my merch. So it came in this pink sack, And obviously I had ordered the TFNation Decepticon Time Terror book. I haven't actually read it yet, but I will get around to reading that at some point. And obviously I got my pre-ordered TFNation t-shirt. So and that it came in this fetching pink sack, because obviously the whole convention was the G2 theme, so hence the lurid colours. And yeah, so I've got that. The badges, I bought them in the forge on the Sunday, so I just stuck them on the badge because I stuck them on the bag because it was somewhere to put them. So yeah, that was that. I went and booked into my hotel room, got my stuff, took my stuff up to my room, and then it was getting on for 1 o'clock, so I went down for the small YouTubers panel. Sat in the small YouTubers panel. You know, Sam with SG1 and Zort Rider were presenting it. I didn't download that app for answering the questions. I was quite surprised that one of the questions was, you know, how many Ultra Magnus restoration videos have I done this year so far? And I had to think about it myself, actually. I thought, well, I've done one every month, and the last one I did was July, so it must be 7. So yeah, and it was great that Mr. Zort Rider, you know, in some of the things that he said in that panel was really, really nice and considerate to things that went on in the past. So yeah, thanks Richard for doing that. And so I came out of that, enjoyed the YouTube panel. I mean, obviously there's a version of it up on YouTube that you can go and watch if you want. And then I got back to the room, and obviously got back to the room, started getting my stuff out, and then something I'm kind of proud of, I hacked my wristband. What do I mean by that? I said, well, I've got all the wristbands from the previous years, and these wristbands, obviously they have the little toggle that's got the barbs on it. They pull it tight, and you can't take it off without cutting it off. Well, when I had the wristband put on, I stuck some fingers underneath so that when they tightened it up, they didn't tighten it up too much, and there was just enough slack in it so that I could squeeze it off my hand. And then when I got back to the room, I hacked it. Now, the problem is, in previous years, the toggles have been black. This year, the toggles were white. So I thought, what am I going to do? So all my previous toggles that I'd modified and taken the barbs out of so that you could stick them on the wristband and slide them up and down were in white. But as it happens, I bought my ledger, which I write up my Transformer list as I'm buying stuff. So I bought it along so that I could update it at the convention. And with that, I bought all my stationery to go with that, including Tipex. And using some Tipex, I Tipexed my black toggle, and now, yeah, it's been modified, because if you look on the inside, you can see it's black on the inside. So yeah, I Tipexed my toggle, because this is the original one with the barbs in, and that's my hacked one that I painted white. The reason being is you know, the previous year, obviously I had the wristband on, and I can't remember if it was on the Saturday night or the Friday night. I accidentally pulled it tight, and it was really tight around my wrist, and I didn't really like that. And also when I'm having a shower, I don't like to have the wristband on. So yeah, this year I wanted to make sure that I could take the wristband off and on as I wanted. So to that end, I hacked the wristband. So obviously just need to so yeah, you just stick it on, and then you just adjust it up. So yeah, I had an adjustable wristband for the rest of the weekend. Then it was back to the bar for the afternoon, and I think when I was going out to the car to get something from my car, as I came out the front gate, I bumped into a couple of guys who were outside, you know, having a fag, and one of them was Mr. Damien Shuriken Dino, a guy who I met at TFNation 2 years ago and struck up a friendship with him. I didn't recognise him at first because obviously I hadn't seen the guy in 2 years and I couldn't remember exactly what he looked like. So there was this Irish guy who was talking to me like he was a long lost friend, and I thought, "Who are you?" Sorry, Damien, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so no, like I said, I got some more stuff from the car, and then went round to the bar on the Saturday afternoon. Yeah, and had a drink with Damien, and we had a chat. We were catching up on stuff, and it was while I was at the bar, catching up with Damien, that a certain new YouTuber came round, Rudy Zissou, and he was going around, sort of greeting people and handing out these free art folders, and he gave one to me, and I've shown this in my haul video, but I'll show it again. And basically, there's a load of art prints that he's done of various characters. I haven't got a full set, but still glad that the ones that I've got. Yeah, so thanks Rudy. It's a pleasure meeting you, and thanks for sorting these out for me. That was great. So yeah, got those, and now I only had to buy one drink at TFNation this year. Well, one drink in the bar at TFNation this year. That was the first one. And strangely enough, because I drink cider, I ordered Stella Artois Cidre from the woman, but because they were doing normal, Stella Artois beer, she poured me a glass of Stella Artois lager, and it's like, bleh. I took one swig of it, and it's like, ugh. Excuse me, I meant Cidre, not lager. So yeah, that happened. That was the first drink that I bought, and then every drink after that, it was Mr. SKD. It was Shuriken Dino, aka Damien. He just put his hand in his pocket and says, "Oh, do you want another drink?" It's so he was my drinking buddy. He bought virtually he did buy every other drink in the bar throughout the entire weekend. I didn't have to buy any drinks apart from one when I had my meal on the Saturday night with Matthew Grant. Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, the next thing, I bumped into some more YouTubers in the bar on the Friday afternoon. Mr. Evo Changer, met him and had a bit of a chat with him. That was great. And then it was the Transformers and Such guys had arranged to go get a meal at the Gourmet Burger Kitchen at Resort World. So when the time came around, we all mingled together, and then we set off. But we set off the wrong way. Somebody thought they could get access going out the back way, and they started walking out the back way, and they realised it was a dead end, so they had to double back and go right the way round the other side to get the path round the lake to Resort World, which was slightly amusing. So we all traipsed round to Resort World, went to the Gourmet Burger Kitchen and had a meal, which was nice. I mean, obviously I had my meal with SKD, and so that was brilliant. Very expensive food there, Gourmet Burger Kitchen. I think my meal was about £18 for a burger and some chips. I thought that was a bit much, but anyway, it is what it is. I had a meal, and then we came back, and then it was back to the bar and just doing your bit in the bar in the evening. Obviously, hung around with various people, mostly Damien, and just chatting and chilling and drinking, and yeah, so it was great. Later on in the evening, now this is something that I wanted to do. Last year at this event in the Friday evening last year, Gary Churm, aka Hot Rodney Prime, gifted me a turning Met card Prince Kong figure, which is one of the little Met card figures, that all the spring-loaded things where you roll it over a card and it springs open, little brown gorilla thing. Yeah, he gave me that, and I really wanted to return the favour. So this year I've got a new KTRT figure that I've bought, which is a repaint of a mold that I already had, which I bought into 2016. I am of course referring to Turning Met Card HG Phoenix, and it was now surplus to my requirements. And I thought, it might be an interesting gift to give something back to Mr. Hot Rodney Prime. So in the bar on the Saturday evening, he was in the crowd with the Transformers and stuff. I think they were just setting up to have a game of Cards Against Humanity, and I creeped around behind him and then just plopped this box in his lap and said, "Yeah, if you want it, it's yours." So I gave him my Turning Met Card Phoenix, and he seemed pretty pleased with it. And hopefully, you'll see it in his haul video when he does it. So yeah, that was something that I did. Yeah, and that was well, according to my notes, that was 22/11 that happened. So yeah, I just hung around in the bar until it was getting late, and I wanted to get back to bed because I wanted to be up early in the morning and have breakfast. So that was the Friday done. Saturday, got up, had a shower, went down for breakfast fairly early because I wanted to get a decent spot in the queue for getting in. Yeah, so I had a nice filling breakfast, and then went back to the room, got my bags and my kit, and then went down and then stood in the line. Doors opened at 9:30, and it was absolute bedlam. It was absolutely heaving with people. I mean, obviously, at the end of the convention, it was announced that there was 1,300 attendees. I think the majority of them was in the dealer hall come Saturday morning because you could not move. It was standing room only. There was queues of people waiting to pay for stuff at the stalls, like queues 2 or 3 deep. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I had a game plan in mind of stuff I wanted to buy. There were some bits over at the Toy Fu stall that I really wanted to get straight off the bat, and that's what I did. One thing I will say at this point, now I did notice there was some price fixing going on certain characters, certain figures, which was, in my opinion, faintly disgusting. On the Friday, when they opened the hall for the Matrix Quest and the playing of that other thing, whatever the film or the movie or whatever it was they did, they do that thing where they fence off the dealer area, and you can walk in, but you can see them setting up. And of course, as you come in through the door, you had In Demand's booth with immediately on your left, and they had that big stand with they had all the Power of the Primes and Titan's Return figures on. And now they had a few copies of Power of the Primes Wave 2 Voyager class Hungar. Now, I was looking at the price of it, and it had initially had price labels on 35 quid, and I thought, no, I'm not paying that. Now, I know this figure hasn't actually officially been released in the UK as yet. When it does get released in retail, it will be, well, I know Smiths are doing the Power of the Primes Voyagers for £23.99, which is the best price anywhere. Obviously, Entertainer's getting them in as well, and there's probably a few other places that are getting them, but that figure hasn't actually been released for retail in the UK yet. We might never get it. It might be one of those figures that we miss out on. I don't know. And there was a shortage of them in the hall. Obviously, if you have to buy it online, prices on eBay are like 35, 40 quid. Amazon, 57 quid. Is it 57 quid it's going for on Amazon? Which is absolutely ridiculous. So, and if you have to buy it from Kapow or In Demand online, then you have to pay the postage. So that bumps the price up a little bit. So it's quite an expensive figure to buy online. Now, I'm prepared to wait until it comes out on retail, because I'm sure it will come out on retail eventually, and it will be at a much lower price. But as the day before, well, no, on the Thursday, I went over to Coventry. I went to Forbidden Planet, and I got the free Wave 3 deluxe figures. I got Blot, Cutthroat, and Cinetwin. So I had all the Terracon Deluxes, and I just needed the Voyager to complete the Gestalt. So I was really in the market to get one. But then again, I think that was a similar case for most other people, because this was a figure that was very much in high demand and low supply, and I think that played into the pricing that was being put on this thing. But anyway, saw it at 35 quid on the in-demand store, and I thought, okay, I'm not buying that. Come around later on the Friday, looked again, and it had been restickered at £30, and I thought, well, 30 quid, I could probably do it at 30 quid. Anyway, come Saturday morning, when I went into the hall initially, I had a quick butcher's at the figure, and it was back up to 35 quid. So it went from 35 quid to 30, then back up to 35 again. And then there wasn't that many dealers that had it. I think there was Kapow, In Demand. I think 2 other dealers had it, but it was in very short numbers. There was probably no more than a couple of dozen there. And, you know, everybody was selling it for 35 quid. And I just wondered whether the dealers had got together and had a bit of a gentleman's agreement that they were all going to sell this figure at 35 quid because they knew how rare it was at the convention. They knew the prices people would have to pay to buy it online. So I think there was a little bit of price fixing that went on that particular figure, and I was faintly disgusted by it, especially when you saw it on the in-demand store right next door to, you know, Wave 3 Inferno, who was only 30 quid, and Wave 2 Elite 1, who was only 25 quid. So yeah, so again, it's supply and demand, and you can't blame the dealers for doing what they do, because at the end of the day, they're all there to make money. And that went on, and it was a little bit annoying, I thought, but I'll just have to wait to get mine. I'll just keep going around the shops until it eventually turns up at retail. I'm sure it'll pop up at retail at some point further down the line, because somewhere there's a warehouse full of these things in Europe that haven't, you know, been put out on sale yet, and eventually it'll be shelf warming like Starscream is. But anyway, that was that. Yeah, so did my initial run around the hall, bought a few bits, went over to the forge, had a quick mooch around the forge on the Saturday. Didn't buy anything then, so then I came back out. I went back up to the room to offload, and then came back down for a second session going round, and by 12 o'clock I'd spent my my Saturday allowance of all the money. So I'd bought all the things I wanted to buy on Saturday by about midday. So then it was a case of going back to the bar and hanging around. Bumped into Graham the Collector 75, and I had a bit of a chat with him. And then while I was in the bar on the Saturday night, well, Saturday afternoon, Vigadef rolls over and hands me a copy of the Refined Robot Co. issue 2. So that was great. Obviously, you know, it's got loads of pictures of repainted figures, and then, yeah, it's got that lurid photograph of the G2 figures that Mr. Waspshot has done. So yeah, got given that. So thank you, Vigadef, for handing me one of those, because last year I wanted to get one of these, but I didn't actually get one at the convention, and Dorian had to post one to me afterwards. But yeah, so I'm finally happy to get one at the convention itself. Then it was, you know, it was the Saturday evening, hanging around in the bar, caught up with again Graham the Collector 75. John Borders dude came down and sat with us for a while and was talking about stuff, and then Mr. Damien, Mr. Shuriken Dino just kept buying me drinks. Kept asking me, do you want a drink? Yeah, all right, I'll have another one. I'm not really an alcoholic. I don't drink to the extreme. I only like, you know, bottled cider, and I'll drink a couple of pints, and then I'm good. So I didn't go mad. Then it was like waiting for the like the evening entertainments, you know, Club Con and you know, the concert. So yeah, went into Club Con and the cosplay. Sat and watched the cosplay, which was really good. I mean, the cosplays are amazing. Don't get me wrong; they're fantastic. The amount of time and effort and creativity that goes into these costumes, I'd like to do it, but I just can't can't. I don't think I've got the skills or the motivation to actually build a costume. I'd rather pay somebody to make one for me. But yeah, so that was that. But I don't think it was quite as good as, no, they're quite as interesting. I didn't like the ones that was up there quite as much as the ones that were done last year, but there was still some good ones. And then you because they had this thing whereby they had to reconvert the room for the concert. Everybody had to go out. Well, I didn't sit for the script reading, and me and I collared Matthew Grant, and me and Matthew Grant went for a meal at a sit-down meal at World Bar, because last year I went to the World Bar like 4 nights on the trot and had some really enjoyable meals there. But last year I went at a much earlier time, like round about sort of 5, half 5. I mean, it was about 7:30 that we went there, and the place was really busy. There's lots of kids running around, lots of people chatting. It was quite loud. And the other thing was, when I ordered my meal last year, they had brown sauce, because I like my brown sauce, even though I bought my own brown sauce to have at my meal that I had on Friday at the Gourmet Burger Kitchen. I didn't bring it with me to World Bar, and I was a little bit disappointed at myself for that, because they don't do it. So they had some barbecue sauce that you could put on it, but I didn't like that. I will say the meal wasn't as good as it was last year, but the company was as brilliant as always, because I had a sit-down meal with Mr. Matthew Grant, aka the Toy Therapist. Did it last year, done it again this year, and me and him, we just had, as he put it, had a moan about stuff. had a moan about various things, mostly like buying stuff from certain online retailers, and the prices of figures, and the state of Transformer retail in the UK, and all sorts of stuff. And it was good to have catch up with him and just natter about stuff. And he enjoyed it as much as I did. And Matthew, it's brilliant. And we've made plans to catch up later in the year, because obviously we're both going to be going to the MCM Comic Con in November. And fingers crossed, there's an NEC toy fair in the back end of September, and Matthew is hankering for some Centurions, shall we say, and you do see Centurions at the NEC toy fair, amongst other things. So I've said to Matthew, we've got a plan cooking that he's going to try and get up to Birmingham NEC, to the NEC Toy Fair on September the 30th. But that's up in the air at the moment, but it may or may not happen. I don't know. I'm definitely going, but we'll see if he can join me. But that would be great if that happens. So yeah, had that meal, and then we had to nip back to the convention to attend the Stan Bush concert. Got into the concert for 9 o'clock, and it wasn't the concert didn't actually start until 9:30, because it took quite a while to get the people into the arena and get ready for the thing. Now, everybody, the concert was amazing. It was fantastic. Everybody's video that you'll see where they go over their thoughts on the convention, they will gush about the Stan Bush concert, and quite rightly so. It was amazing. To me personally, now I'm not trying to be critical or anything, so don't rag on me for this, but I probably didn't enjoy it as much as the majority of people. But I'm not saying it was bad in any way. It was a great concert. I haven't been to any concerts before, so it was my first experience of going to a concert. I had a rough idea of what I was letting myself in for, but the thing was, out of all the songs that Stan Bush played, I only knew the 2 songs. I only knew The Touch and Dare. And he played about, 6 songs of his own from his own albums and other films that he'd done soundtracks for. He played these 6 other songs that other people knew, but I didn't. And So it wasn't until about like the 7th or 8th, I think it was the 7th or 8th song that were the, you know, Dare and What's It. So he played these other songs. Now, me, when it comes to listening to new music, sometimes it takes me a long time to get used to it, and I have to listen to a track over and over and over and over again before I start to understand it and like it. And I think that was the case with his music. So even though it was good and it was brilliant and they did an amazing job of the concert, you know, I didn't get into the other songs quite as much as what other people did. But obviously, when, you know, Dare came out and The Touch, you know, I was singing along with the rest of them. So it was a fantastic concert. It was brilliant. It was amazing. But like I said, I didn't enjoy it quite as much as what other people did. But no disrespect to Stan or anyone else who was there. You know, I can see that other people was well into it, and quite rightly so. It was a fantastic concert. But yeah, so it was brilliant. Yeah, it was fantastic. It was amazing. Right, so yeah, did the concert. He did about, what was it, 9 songs, 2 encores, and then they did that chanting, you know, thank you, Stan Bush, thank you, Stan Bush, and stuff like that. So that was quite cool. I didn't record any video clips of the concert. In fact, taking photos and videos throughout the convention, I didn't really bother with that this year. I have done previously, but this year I didn't really do much of that. So I'm probably not going to bother putting up any photos or video clips on this Reflections video. So sorry about that. I just didn't bother. So yeah, the concert finished at about, was it 10:30? And then it was back to the bar, and it was like, you know, winding down the evening's festivities. Everybody was buzzing from the concert, obviously, and then I was hanging around when the Transformers and such did their live unboxing video for a bit, and I had you know, chats with Matthew Grant, Chris and Natalie, yeah, and quite a few other people who were there, including Mr. Moobit Media. He was there as well, so you know, I actually met him, so that was quite interesting. Yeah, so but I didn't stay in the bar till quite late. I think it was like about midnight. I think I decided I haven't had enough, and I went back to my room because I was tired, and so that was the end of Saturday. Sunday, got up, went for breakfast. Lot more. I mean, the convention, the dealer room, when it opened at 9:30, was a lot more relaxed on the Sunday morning. I think a lot of people were still in bed at that time because they'd partied a little bit too hard the night before. So I was wandering around, you know, buying a few bits. And then I bought some stuff, and I came out at 10:45, and I still had, I think it was like 100 and something quid in my pocket. So I didn't spend all my money on Saturday morning. It was then I went into the Forge, because I did say in my pre-convention video that I wanted to have a good rummage around the Forge, and I did on the Sunday morning. Went to the first guy. He was Transmaster UK. He had the first stall on the left-hand side as you went in. I was looking on his stall, and I noticed that, well, I've seen this on the Saturday, this Daily Straxus thing. As I said in my haul video, I remember Straxus from the Marvel G1 comic and what happened to him. And yeah, stuff happened, and he basically, his head got severed, and he was being kept alive in a goldfish bowl and like a severed head. And it was this was a comic where it's a what if went on with Straxus while he was going through that. So I bought 3 of those. Again, I haven't actually read them yet, so I've got those to look forward to. Also, while I was there, he had the Rock Lords fanzine that was done at TFNation 2 years ago on the Toy Food stall. I didn't buy one, didn't get one back then, but this guy had some left over, so I managed to get hold of one of those. And he also had this this rather glossy comic, which I had a flick through it and I thought, actually, that looks quite interesting, so I'll buy that as well. Then I worked my way along, came to the next person in the forge. Larika Bellachum is a nice girl, and she had a bunch of prints and stickers and badges and things on her stall. She seemed to be quite a fan of the animated sort of style of drawing. In fact, she had a book there where if you flicked through it, it was full of character designs of characters from the IDW universe done in the animation style, which was quite interesting. And while I was there, I decided to get some badges. So I got my badges from you know, the the Rescue Bots, basically, because I'm a bit of a fan of the Rescue Bots series. So I got those, and then went to the next guy. It was at WE66 Illustration, and he had last year's Toy Fu fanzine available. I paid £4 for this, but when you look at it, it's got some signatures on it, and I'm not sure whose they are. So, yeah, there is that. Obviously, when I was buying stuff on the Saturday morning, I got the new fanzine that they did, the Master Force one. I've got that on Saturday morning. I've got to put that in. So yeah, I actually went around the forge and did a bit. Obviously, also in the forge, you had the display cases that was full of those customs that people had done, which were quite interesting. And then there was a few sort of third-party figures in there, prototypes that have been put on display. So that was cool to look at. Then obviously, then it was getting on for midday, and I had to check out of my room. So I went up to my room, got the rest of my bits, took them out to the car, and checked out of my room. And then I was just sort of milling about then, waiting for the convention to wind down, and went around the hall one last time with Shuriken Dino. Bought my last couple of figures with him, and then sat down, lounged in the bar, and just chatted about stuff. I mean, obviously, because I would have been driving home later in the day, I couldn't have any alcoholic drinks, so Damien was just buying me tall glasses of Coke and ice, so that was great. Went back to the hall at 16:50, just before it closed, for one last scoot around. I had it in my mind, I wanted to get a Titan's Return Overlord. There was one stall that had some left, but he was doing them for £50, and he wouldn't budge on his price, which was a pity. But I'm sure I'll be able to pick that figure up at a cheaper price somewhere else later on, so no big deal. And that was it. Now, I came out of that hall on the Sunday afternoon with £70 in my pocket. 70 quid in my pocket, plus, loose change. That's unheard of. And usually I spend every last penny of money I've got on plastic. But I didn't this year. There was no need. There was no need. In fact, a couple of times when I was going around the dealer hall doing my my buying, that I just got to a point whereby that I haven't really got any need to buy anymore. I sort of reached a point where stick a fork in me, I'm done. So there was that. One thing I want to mention now before I forget, getting stuff signed. This year I wasn't really that bothered about getting stuff signed. I did bring a bag of stuff that I wanted to get signed, but it just slipped my mind, and it wasn't until the Sunday afternoon, early Sunday afternoon, that I sort of remembered that I had this stuff I wanted to get signed, but I just wasn't bothered. So I didn't get anything signed, but I will show you what I didn't get signed. I didn't get a Transformers movie soundtrack signed by Stan Bush. I didn't get a Transformers Ladybird book Autobot Lightning Strike signed by Mike Collins. And I certainly didn't get my Till All I Want annual and my Combiner Wars issue 1 Windblade signed by Marguerite Scott. Now, if it was anything I really would have wanted to get signed, it would have been these, mainly because I was a bit of a fan of Till All I Want, and Marguerite basically wrote all of Windblade's saga in the IDW, which is quite interesting. And this particular issue, where she teamed up with Sarah Stone to do the art, I absolutely love this issue because Sarah Stone's artwork is absolutely amazing. It would have been nice for Marguerite to sign this, and then later on, if Sarah Stone ever comes to the UK, I'd get her to sign it as well. But I didn't get that done, so I didn't get these signed. And the other thing I didn't get signed that I took was my Loose Cannon comics, because Chris Carter was there, wasn't he? Because he had an involvement in doing the what have I done with it? He was one of the guys involved in getting this done. So he was wandering around throughout the convention, and actually I saw him at Lem Comic Con earlier in the year, where I bought this issue. Issue 8 from him, and as you can see, it was signed by all the guys, you know, basically all these guys, well, 3 of these guys, Chris, Dean, and what's it so, and so that was signed by them there. But I wanted to sign the rest of my comics, but I went back home, tried to find them, but I couldn't find them, and it wasn't until after that convention that I dug them out, and it was too late. So I bought all my other issues of Loose Cannon to Chris Carter to sign, but again, it completely slipped my mind, and I didn't get these signed by Chris Carter. So yeah, as you can see, I took a bunch of stuff to get signed, and I just couldn't be arsed getting it done. I just was not bothered about it. So yeah, that was something that I didn't get done. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, it was sitting in the bar Sunday afternoon, and then we went into the pavilion room because the main hall had closed while the dealers were packing up, and they did the closing ceremony in the pavilion. We got in there for the back end of the Lost Light panel, and then we sat down, and then they did that before the actual closing ceremony. They did that Q&A panel, the TFNation Q&A panel, where there was fielding questions from the audience as to, you know, what things, you know, questions about the way they did things, and what improvements they could make for future conventions. And then they did the closing ceremony itself, and that was when the announcement went out that they'd had 1,300 attendees at this year's convention, which is amazing. I mean, TFNation is growing as a convention. It was definitely a lot busier this year than it had been in the previous 2 years, but you know, that's good for the convention. As they signed off, they showed you a teaser for next year, and then Fat Planet started booming out the sound system. Then they showed you the logo, and it's basically the Beast Machines logo. So next year is going to be Beast Machines themed, which I'm sort of, I mean, I've got Beast Machines, I've got both seasons of Beast Machines, I've got the whole thing on DVD, I've watched it a number of times. I'm a huge fan of Beast Wars, and Beast Wars was the series direct. It was like a follow-on from Beast Machines was a follow-on of Beast Wars. Beast Machines is not as good as Beast Wars, but there were some things in Beast Machines that were kind of interesting. But there's a lot of weird crap that went on in that show, so I'm a bit conflicted about how I feel about, you know, Beast Machines, you know, themed convention next year. But we'll have to get into it. I'm gonna have to watch Beast Machines again just to get in the mood for that, I think. So that's me, TFR Wilderness. So we're talking nearly 50 minutes on this this video. I wanted to get it done as soon as, again, sorry about there's no pictures or video clips on this video, because I really didn't bother doing it. I mean, the whole point of this convention is I wanted to just relax and just take the convention in. I didn't want to be running around like a blue arse fly doing stuff that at the end of the day isn't really important. It's just the experience. It's hanging out with friends, laughing, joking, drinking, carrying on with your mates. That's what it is. I mean, yeah, the toys is part of it, but I found this year the toys wasn't as important as the socialising part of it. If that it makes any sense, because I didn't spend all my money, so I didn't shell out the whole £1,000 that I took. I've still got some money left, so yeah, that was that. So yeah, it was a good convention. It was better for me than last year because of reasons which I don't want to go into. So it was a better convention. I think a lot of people thought it was a much better convention this year. The Stan Bush concert contributed greatly to that. It was a really good gig, and yeah, so bring on 2018 and Bixby Sheets. That's been me, TFI Wilderness. I hope you've sat through this lengthy ramble that I've done. It's been me. I'll catch you all next time. Ta-da.